And everybody, thank you very much for coming back this afternoon. As we planned, we'll talk a little bit about the overview of our challenge. I hope today was a productive session for you, and I've been updated by Bu Suharti about the meetings, and hearing the name, it somewhat represent Jakarta climate lab. Jakarta climate lab. We have Jack Linko. And this afternoon we are also inviting 3 of our coastal regeneration team, led by Marco at the very end, and then Irfan Pulungan and Khalid, Pak Khalid, and then Pak Irfan. This is 3 out of berapa? 4. 3 out of 4 of our coastal regeneration team that have already able to produce a draft of our master plan for the coastal area, and I hope you will have the opportunity to discuss further with the team. But Bu Hati, want to update us a few words about the discussion today?
Yeah, thank you, Pak Gubernur. This morning we discussed particularly about the introductions about the teams from Germany, and also for the lab itself. And then from our side, we provide a brief information about Jakarta, the problems of Jakarta, but it's very brief introductions. And some questions raised by the team from Germany about what has to be done for the Jakarta, particularly for the transportations and also the mitigations of the climate change. And some questions also about the reclamations islands that probably will be part of the experiments for the jet labs. And also some questions about the Tanjung Priok port that we could not answer the questions because it's part of the responsibility of the central government. And Pak Sigit, the Mayor of North Jakarta, has agreed to be the hub for the further discussions with the Tanjung Priok
authority. Okay, good. So hopefully your visit will be productive. We'll arrange managers meeting. So allow me on this opportunity to share just a brief overview of our challenge in Jakarta. So this is in Jalan Sudirman Street, our downtown. This is our first trial of electric bus. This is the existing bus. And we have created an innovative pedestrian bridge, and also some of our farms. But here is a brief, just to refresh about Jakarta. We have 10.3 million. The area is about 665 kilometers. And then the GDP per capita is 14,000. We are about 4 times higher than, almost 5 times higher, 4 times higher than the Indonesia per capita income. Of course, this is extremely diverse. This is only the large ethnic groups that is listed, but actually almost every groups in Indonesia is represented here in Jakarta. Now here is the challenge. We have river, floods, and coastal floods. This is one challenge. Number 2 is we have land subsidence issue, we have air pollution. The top three is ecological. The down three, this is economic and social issue that we have to deal with. I mentioned earlier this morning about access to basic needs, poverty and inequality. This is an issue for us, and also social cohesions. Air pollution is basically residual because of the way we operate our transport. It creates this problem. So if we can transform our transport, we will see this solved. Now, our development in Jakarta was car-oriented development for many years. We developed expressway, and then the density restrictions, and also we have unreliable public transport. So the expressway to suburbs that we have created is not really solving our challenge. As I mentioned earlier this morning, instead of solving, we moved away from our challenge and create solution that doesn't solve the existing problems. And then we have underinvestment in public services, limited access to clean water, disintegrated waste management, and lack of affordable housing. Because of all of that, this is what we have now. Traffic gridlock, polluted environment, flooding, and land subsidence. We're talking about the roots. And then look at what happened today. Because it was car-oriented development. And then we have limited supply of housing within the city. And then intensified development in floodplain areas outside the city. And there we go, we have increased risk of flooding. Underinvestment in basic services, limited access to centralized water and groundwater exploitation, plus land subsidence, we have increased flooding. This is happening 6 years ago. We don't hope to repeat, but if we don't solve this issue well, we may be facing similar challenge. Let me give you an illustration. If you look at the map here, let me show you. If you look at the map of Jakarta, south of us we have highlands. North of us we have the Java Sea. And when you're dealing with situation like us, there is no other city in Java that have 13 natural rivers coming into the city. We have 13 natural rivers coming into the city. And it also tells us that we live in an area that is very low. And look at this mountain. And all the rivers from here is going north. This used to be rawa, apa rawa itu ya? Swamp. Swamp. This is a swamp area. Swamp that is being reclaimed and converted into land area. That's Jakarta. So whenever we have heavy rain in the south, the water is coming into us. That is our first front, facing water from the highland. Our second front is the land subsidence plus the high rise of the sea level. So if the sea level is rising and the heavy rain is happening at the same time, then we are in deep trouble. That's what happened in 2013. And then if there is any broken dam, any dysfunctional pump, then we are indeed in trouble. So this is just to give you illustrations how we are sort of surrounded with that. On top of that, if Jakarta is experiencing heavy rain, then there we go. We have all these challenges. Now, go back to this. More than 60% of our residents live more than 1 kilometer away from mass transit stations. As I mentioned earlier, that we design our city to operate, or the public operating with private vehicles, cars. And therefore, coverage of public transport is not really our strategy. Our strategy is covering street, providing street everywhere, and making sure that the street is available to every neighborhood, which is good, which is important. But public transport need to come along. It wasn't there. So we look at the spec. And then on top of that, we are dominated by low-rise structure. This is the residential density of Jakarta. If we adopt zoning regulations the way Manhattan did it, our space only use this much. If Jakarta is adopting the Manhattan zoning regulations, we could have only used this space. If we are adopting the zoning regulation in Singapore, we're only using this much. But our zoning regulations tend to facilitate more on low-rise structure instead of high-rise. And there we go, we have coverage everywhere. So now it's about 92% of Jakarta land is covered by buildings, road, and streets. So we have only 8% left in the green area. We have poverty issue. I don't know if you mentioned this. This is obviously an issue. And then access to clean water. I mentioned to you earlier, 47% don't have access to piped water. And it means the communities which don't have access to piped water, they have to pay $42 per month. Those with piped water, they pay $8.5. That's a huge difference. And here is middle class, here is the poor area. And then housing. Half of us were not homeowner. School enrollment, this is also an issue. Look at the north. Enrollment rate only 51.8, North Jakarta. And I believe the highest is Central. East and South. Okay. So again, this is some of the challenge. Now, where are we heading? We're building city, of course, this is our vision. Equal, prosperous, modern, dynamic, sustainable, and we call it unified. A city that provide platform for positive interactions. Now, our approach in this at this stage is we would like the city government to transform itself from administrator into service provider, into facilitator and collaborator. We call it City 4.0. The City 1.0 The people are simply resident, and we are administrator. And then we are growing, becoming service provider and their customer. Usually people are happy being here, but we have seen empowered residents. They can be participants in providing solutions to our challenge, and we are facilitator. But also we'd like to move to co-creator and collaborator. What's the difference between the two? The difference is the participants and facilitator each are doing it on its own, but here we are doing it together as a collaboration, not simply as participations. So the interaction is from socialization to consultation to participation and collaboration. To give you, we'll show you some of the example on this. Is we are inviting communities to participate in our program as co-creator. They come up with solutions, and then we adopt their solutions, and we enlarge it. Our approach is this: government have authority and have fiscal capability, fiscal capacity. The citizens, actively engaged citizens, they have the creativity, innovations, but don't have authority and don't have fiscal capacity. If we are working together, then we adopt solution from them based on their experience, using our fiscal capacity and our authority. So that's sort of the idea. When you visit Sudirman Street, you'll come to see bus stops, and then you'll be able to see a map of our routes. That is not created by us. That is created by community. Community of caring citizens of public transport. They created the map, and then we use their map, and we print it, we duplicate, and we give the credit to them. So they produce it as a collaborations. We are restoring and building 50 parks every year. This year, and the park is designed not only by us, but be designed by inviting the community surrounding the park to design together according to their needs. So in many areas we're doing that. I think there may be some example of this. So we're also focusing on building the third space, as I mentioned earlier. The first space is at home, second space is at work, and then the third space is something, goes in between. And we would like this to sort of facilitate the feeling of equality. This is some of our example of the urban regenerations. We're shifting the fundamentals of our policy from car-oriented development into transit-oriented development. Under investment in basic services into rapid investment in basic services. And then we have 60 priority programs. This is just an example. I heard you have discussed a lot about expansion and integration of mass transit, and then provision of affordable housing, parks and green open space, and then access to clean water, river revitalizations, and sustainable growth centers. So these are some of examples about our approach. This is some of our plan, where we are today in 2019, and where we want to reach by 2030. For example, our MRT system, the subway, we have now 16 kilometers, we'd like to get 223 kilometers. And then the light rapid transit from 5.8 to 116. And then the buses from 400 kilometers in 2,100 kilometers in 10 years. Loop lines now is all at grade, which is creating traffic congestions. We would like to have all loop line, the train, elevated to reduce traffic issues. And then housings, clean water, wastewater management, and then microbus, which provide like a feeder to our mass rapid transit, the bus rapid transit. This is some of example about river naturalizations that we would like to do. We are now in that process. as you see this is from the highland, so it's here, and then all the way to the coastal area. If you look at 2004, 2011, more and more people are living in the riverbanks compared to it used to be, and it creates more problems. And if we are able to do a river nationalization program, then we hope to be able to hold water from coming to Jakarta too soon, too fast. I'll go faster. Just a minute. This is just some of an example of what we're doing. I hope you will have the opportunity to come and visit some of these places. This is an example of public park that was developed with the community, and next to it is a river, and the park is also served as a retention pools. So whenever the water coming in to the city, then this can serve as a retention pool. Instead of flooding the community surrounding, it stops here. I mean, it is being managed there. This is the example. This tree is that tree. So, and it has a tunnel underneath so that water can actually enter this area. All of this kampung beautifications is done by the local community. We are providing the paint, and then the expert to guide them, and then we work in a collaborative to make the kampung more livable, more fun, clean. Village, yeah. And then this is one example of our what we call third space optimizations. That in the sidewalks we have musics. Hari apa aja musik?
Tuesday and Friday.
Tuesday and Friday. So today,
I think so. I think Tuesday.
Okay.
At least in the Kendal.
Tuesday and Friday we have musics. Start at 5:30 until around 7:30. But that's also to create an environment in which people enjoy walking, because walking has not been much of our in Jakarta, much of our habits. We like to have motorcycle close to us and car close to us. So when you get out of your home, instead of walking, you enter your car, and then we can park as close as possible to the office, and minimum walking again. We'd like to give the incentive by having large pedestrian sidewalk, so that people actually enjoy and create this kind of breakthrough. Now, the public transport integrations that have been discussed earlier, but let me give you the illustrations. We were happy to see the improvement in our public transport. Tom Traffic Index in 2018. Sudah disampaikan belum?
Oh yeah, betul.
Jakarta was the 4th most congested city in 2017. And then in 2018, we dropped to number 7. We hope to get out of top 10, hopefully. And we are into that directions. Now, the Sustainable Transport Award 2020, we were given this award. It will be handed to us in January because of that improvement. Look at these routes. In 2017, we have 121 routes. Now we have 210 routes, almost double. It took 13 years to achieve 125, and it takes 2 years to double it. And that is a major effort that we are trying to do. Now, ridership. It was 123 million per year in 2016. By 2019, we reached 255, which is double. It took about 13 years to achieve this number, 12 years, and then it takes 3 years to achieve, to double it. So when the political will is there, the technocratic approach follows. Look at the number of microbus integrated. It used to be only 5, now we have 29 routes integrated. The bus operating every day used to be 1,500. Now, 2018 was 200 and 2,100. So, you look at the map. If you look at the trend here, look at the trend. So, this is major improvement that we would like to continue, and people started to feel the impact. However, we're not done yet. Because
that one we need to update. It's already 918,000
now
per day. 918,000. I think we will reach 1 million per day by November.
So our aim is to make people experience it once. They'll get addicted. The problem is almost everybody that come to Jakarta when they were fresh graduate, they take public transport and they remember the quality of public transport then. And then they get car and they never use public transport again. So the memory of public transport is public transport of the past. When you try public transport today, suddenly people realize it is actually different. And that's when this number is showing. This is not simply campaign, this is fact. So, this is some of our work that we like to do. Sempat kapan yuk, enggak ya? This is the public transport maps and wayfinding. This wayfinding, this is not made by us. These are the groups of citizens who are not professional, we're not working in a professional way in transportations, but they're caring citizens. And they design this and we work together and we produce all of that. Bike path that we're now developing, we are building 63 kilometers of bike path until November, but we have identified almost 500 kilometers of roads that can be part of the bike path all over Jakarta. This is some of our public squares. If you have an opportunity to come and visit, I think it would be nice to see. This is in Sudirman Street, about, depending on traffic, it will be about 15 to 20 minutes away from where we are. And about 3 weeks ago, it was quite a historic moment for us, because we have 8 big digital companies forming collaborations with us, and these are no startups. This is apa namanya? Kalau
digital company.
bukan yang ukurannya gede apa?
Unicorn.
Dekakon.
Berapa dekakon? Kebanyakan masih unicorn.
They're bigger than unicorn, ya betul ya?
Yeah, 10 times bigger.
So these are big, major players in the digital industry, and we're signing MOUs of collaboration with 8 of them simultaneously, and it sends a message that we in government, we're not planning to do everything on our own. We would like to invite you to collaborate with us. Give you one example is Grab and Gojek. These are public transport provider, but they are not mass public transport provider. They are bukan mass, individual public transport. The bike, taxi, with digital technology, they may have about 1.6 million drivers on motorcycles, like Uber, but motorcycles. So we are now forming a collaborations. In the past, they are participating in our ecosystem to provide public transport, and we are providing public transport too. Now we're moving to the City 4.0. We are collaborating. So we will be working together with them within our system to be able to service our citizen better. And our approach on this is this, that the keyword is everybody. City has the capability of providing something for everybody only because and only when they're created by everybody. So engagement, collaboration is key, and that's where we are trying to head. And again, with your coming, your participations, then we have further collaborations in tackling many of our challenges. So, gentlemen, these are some of our vision, and I hope I provide you with some guidelines. So, the major plan of ours to tackle this challenge. If you have any questions, comment, you're welcome.
Well, this is very impressive. Yes. I see the figures and also the efforts you are doing it directly to the, let's say, improvement of the situation of the people. We see on one side the disasters and look how they can be handled in the future, but if they have less or less impact. But a question that comes to my mind is when we think about all these activities, of course, some of them are appropriate, but a lot of them are also investments. Let's take about, let's say, water sewage treatments as an example. A lot of these investments are long-term investments. We have investments, we get a payback in 80 years, or 60 years, or 50 years. So sometimes, we have some situations where we have to invest now, but the payback is a very long time because of financial requirements. And how is the city here managing this huge amount of money or resources needed to invest? That's in the rural area we have a lot of cities, and they are, all of them are bankrupt, all of them. So they are getting money from the government just to survive. There is a plan, and one of the reasons for challenges in the cities is nowadays that we are not having sufficient money to provide this. The money was wasted for other, that's clear, so we can redirect. But I still see that they have to do a lot of efforts for long-term investments.
Yeah, many of this long-term investment will require works from our side, but also some of this are possible to invite a party to collaborate. Give you an example. On this, for example, the infrastructure needs for the development of our TOD. This is the public infrastructure financing, the rail network, the Jakarta bus routes, elevated loop lines, clean water. This is almost all of them, as you mentioned, wastewater management, that is public. And it can amount up to 40 billion But when it comes to housing, it actually possible for private to participate, and the number is actually higher than the public. If we, electric vehicles for example, this can be private to participate with us. And then the development of tourism in the 1,000 islands, we can invite private sector to step in. And then the TOD development, government can create the incentive by building land to building ratio, land to floor ratio. Land to floor ratio that is higher, so that people are willing to invest in certain areas. So the collaborations, some are more of a business arrangement. Therefore, Jakarta government have two hands. On the one hand, we have departments, the bureaucracy. On the other hand, we have state-owned enterprises. And our state-owned enterprises operate as a business entity, but 100% owned by us. And this is a public company. Not public company, that's a listed company. This is a publicly owned company. Yeah, publicly owned company.